Hi class, so the moment that you've been waiting for has arrived. The common exit essay is here. So this video is going to go over the instructions and it's going to go over the options that the English department has provided. So the first thing that you want to know is that the common exit essay is an essay that is assigned to all English 111 classes. So every English 111 class has to do it, and we have to do it during this time frame. So we assign it on April 9th, and then you have 4 class periods to do it, and then there will be a common exit essay reading where all the English 111 instructors get together and we go over some of the essays, and this will be on April 20th. So you won't have your results until, let me check my calendar, until possibly Monday, April 23rd. So that week is when you should get your results. So let's go ahead and look at the options. Like I said, the English department provides 2 options, and usually they let instructors pick the option, but I prefer to let you pick. So for the common exit essay, you will write an essay based on one of these options. So only choose one and make sure that you choose carefully, since you have to write an essay based on that topic. The first option has to do with schools and testing. So if we go ahead and look at the instructions, one of the things I do want to mention is that both options have the same instructions. It's the same process. The only difference is the topic and the article that you are assigned to read. So let's go over the instructions. The first thing you want to know is that you need to pass this essay in order to pass the class. So basically how this works is, if you do not pass the essay, I have to give you an F, and you have to take English 111 again. Now you do have 2 tries to pass the essay. The first time, nobody can help you, tutors can't help you, I can't help you, nobody can help you. Then you submit the essay. If it's a no pass at that time, you get one more chance to revise it. At that point, I can work closely with you to help you revise it. You can go to tutoring, and then the second revision is due with your portfolio. At that time, if it's still a no pass, then you have to retake English 111 again. However, I've been teaching this class since 2008, 2009, and I've only had maybe like 1 or 2 students who don't pass the class because of the English 111 common exit essay. The only reason they didn't pass was because they didn't revise. So if you revise and you make the changes that were outlined in the feedback, you should be fine. So let's go ahead and look at the first topic. The first topic is from Julie Skagel, and she's a freelance journalist and mother who writes an article about the pros and cons of allowing students to retake tests. Academically or socially, second chances are meant to give someone who has failed the opportunity to get it right the second time, in the hopes that they will succeed. So this article is titled, "More Schools Are Offering Retakes, but Does That Make Kids Less Resilient?" and it comes from the Washington Post. So what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to read the article. The link is provided in the instruction sheet. And then you are supposed to answer this question: does the practice of allowing students second chances, for example, retaking tests, revising essays, help or hurt the students? So in a college level essay, what you're supposed to do after you've read the article is you're supposed to write an argumentative essay in response to this prompt. I suggest that you print this out and that you read it again and that you highlight important things. Like, for example, the prompt, it's very important to look at it closely to analyze what it's asking you. For example, it's asking you about second chances. So you don't have to restrict your essay to just retaking tests or revising essays. You can discuss various types of second chances that people or students receive. Also, like I said, it's important to focus on the wording. This one is referring specifically to students. So when you write your essay, make sure that you focus on students and you don't go ahead and provide examples or focus on adults or anything like that. You can talk about how this impacts students as they grow older, but remember, the emphasis right now is second chances. Are they helping or hurting students? So let's go ahead and look at the process. like I said, I recommend that you print this out. That way you can go ahead and analyze the instructions and other details. You will have 4 class periods to write your essay, which means that this essay will be assigned April 9th and it will be due April 18th. And this is to give me a little bit of opportunity to read the essays before the reading on April 20th. So most classes have 4 class periods, but you guys have about a week and a half because it's an online class. You can use personal experiences and observations to support your argument as well as outside research. You can go ahead and use the article provided, but you're not required to do so. However, you do need 3 outside sources. These 3 outside sources should be credible and they should be relevant to your argument. Even if you decide to use the article provided, you still need 3 outside sources. So if you use the article provided, then that means that you should have 4 sources. One of the things I do want to remind you of is remember that in APA, the reference page is for sources that are actually used. So if you use 4 sources, then those 4 sources should also appear in your in-text citations. Now, one of the things that you also want to remember is that there is no required length for this essay, okay? So that means that you can make this essay 1 paragraph, 2 paragraphs, 3 pages, but keep in mind that length is not so much important. What's important is the rubric. And right here, we go ahead and provide the rubric. So basically, to pass the essay, everything has to be yes, all the way down, yes, or in progress passing. You can have a combination of yes or in progress passing. If you get 1 in progress not passing or 1 no, you have to revise the essay. This does not mean that you have to revise the entire essay. It just means that you have to revise the criteria that you got no or in progress not passing in. For example, does the writing document research in text and in a reference list at the end? If this is no, then that means that you need to revise this area. If this is the only thing that receives a no, then you know that the rest of the essay is okay, but that you really need to focus and revise this. Okay, so I think the goal should be to try to get as few of these as possible, okay? So you want to stick to this for it to be a complete pass. So if you don't pass the first time, don't feel discouraged because that happens quite a lot. Us English 111 instructors, we tend to be a bit more, we're not as lenient when it comes to the common exit essay because revision is not a bad thing. So if you have to revise certain things, that's okay. Like I said, the goal should be that you don't have to revise every single thing because then that means more work. And don't forget that the revision will be due with your portfolio, so that means it'll be due at the end of the semester. One of the things I do also want to mention is that if you don't pass the common exit essay the first time, the second time I can help you and tutors can help you, and I actually work closely with you. So before I allow you to turn it in the second time, I ask you that you email it to me so that I can look at it. So you only get 1 official submission with your portfolio, but before that I tell you, no, it's not ready to be turned in, keep revising it. That way you don't turn it in with your portfolio and then you find out it's a no pass. So I'll be asking you to email me your revisions. That way I can tell you, okay, it's ready to be turned in. And also a lot of people don't want to wait till the portfolio is due to revise it or to find out if it's a pass. So they email me back and forth and then we find out maybe like after a week. I tell them, yes, it's ready. And they just keep the essay until the portfolio is due. So a lot of it is going to be working on revising it and just trying to improve it so that it is a complete pass. And also keep this in mind, since I was mentioning sources earlier, do not use more than 5 outside sources. If you use more than 5 outside sources, this right here will automatically be in progress not passing because you did not follow instructions. So make sure that you read the instructions carefully. Like I said, underline important things that you need to remember because you don't want to fail the essay the first time just because you used more than 5 sources, or you didn't include in-text citations or a reference page at the end or anything like that. Another thing I do want to point out is that you do get that second revision, but in order to be able to revise the essay, you have to turn something in. If you don't turn anything in, then there is nothing to revise, right? So even if you submit a paragraph, I've seen people who submit only one sentence, submit something so that you can go ahead and get that opportunity to revise. Like I mentioned earlier, this essay is due on Wednesday, April 18th by 11:59 p.m. Since it is an exam, it cannot be submitted late, and you have to submit something so that you are able to revise the essay. And as I mentioned earlier, there is no required length. So even if you submit a paragraph, obviously it'll be a no pass, but you will get the opportunity to revise. And when I say there's no required length, obviously look at the rubric and try to determine how long your essay should be to fulfill all of these requirements. I would say at least 2 pages will fulfill these requirements. I've had students who write 8 pages and they still don't pass the common exit essay the first time because they didn't follow these requirements. So make sure you look at the rubric and make sure you read the instructions carefully. Now let's look at the second topic. So if we look at the second topic, again, same instructions, same process, everything is the same. The only difference is the topic and the article. So for this one, it talks about happiness. What makes you happy? How do you define happiness? How do you maintain happiness? These questions give us pause to reflect on our own state of happiness. But are the answers to these questions more or less scientific than we think? So for this option, it says, read the following article entitled Happiness in Other People from the New York Times and write a research argument based on the following question. Does happiness come from within or without? Meaning externally. So this is more of a philosophical question, but again, you are asked to write an argumentative essay in response to this prompt after you have read the New York Times article. And like I mentioned earlier, the process is the same. The only difference is the topic and the article. So make sure that you choose a topic, make sure you choose one of the topics that interest you the most. Remember that it has to be written on one of these topics, so you cannot go ahead and pick your own topic or anything like that. It has to be in response to one of these 2 prompts that I went over. And here we have the assignment where you will be submitting the essay. One of the things I mentioned in the assignment is that this essay is not worth a grade. It is a pass or a not pass, or not passing. So basically, you won't receive points for this essay, but it counts as a pass or a not passing. And basically what that means is that if you pass, you are eligible to pass English 111. If it's a not passing, you have to take English 111 again. So this is what we call an exit exam. Another thing to keep in mind is that you need to be passing the class as well to pass the class at the end of the semester. What I mean by that is that even if you pass the common exit essay, but you don't have a C or better, then obviously you have to take the class again. If you have a C or better, but you don't pass the common exit essay or the APA exam, then you have to take English 111 again. So basically, again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the semester, you need to have a passing average of C or better, pass the APA exam with a 70 or higher, and pass the common exit essay and submit a portfolio. So you need to go ahead and do those 4 things in order to pass the class. If you don't do one of those, then of course you are not eligible to pass the class. So please keep this in mind. This is a very important essay. Please let me know if you have any questions. Our discussion for this week is actually going to center on the common exit essay. So if you have questions, you can go ahead and bring them up in that discussion. So please let me know if you have any questions, and thank you for watching.